Hey, y'all, picture this, a quiet street in Willow Creek, Ohio, where the hum of lawnmowers and kids laughing is the soundtrack of a perfect little neighborhood until the motorcycles roll in, shaking windows, rattling nerves, turning heads for all the wrong reasons. Folks around here didn't just hear noise. They heard trouble, and man, were they ready to fight it. But what they didn't know was that those engines were hiding a story that had flipped their world upside down. And I'm here to tell you how it all went down. Like I'm sitting on my porch, sipping coffee, spilling the tea on the wildest year this town ever saw. Willow Creek was the kind of place where every house had a manicured lawn, matching mailboxes, and those little American flags flapping on porches, the HOA's wet dream. But there was this one house, right at the corner of Elm and Fifth, that stuck out like a sore thumb. Peeling paint, oil stains snaking across the driveway, and a row of Harleys parked out front like they were guarding the place. That house belonged to Jack Riley, a guy pushing 60, with a salt and pepper beard and eyes that carried more stories than he'd ever tell. To the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, Jack was public enemy number one, a walking middle finger to their vision of suburban bliss. They didn't care that he'd lost his wife, Maggie, to breast cancer 7 years back, or that his daughter, Ellie, hadn't spoken to him in years, off chasing her own life in California. All they saw were those bikes, too loud, too rough, too wrong for their perfect little world. Every Sunday night, Jack's crew would roll up big guys in leather vests, patches stitched with iron riders in bold red and black, their engines roaring like a thunderstorm. The neighbors didn't just clutch their pearls, they clutched their pens, firing off complaint letters faster than you can say noise violation. Leading the charge was Karen Mitchell, the HOA president, all pressed blouses and a smile that could cut glass. Karen was the queen of Willow Creek, the kind of woman who'd measure your grass with a ruler and send you a fine if it was half an inch too long. "This is a community," she'd say at those HOA meetings, her voice sharp as a tack, "not a biker bar. We can't let these thugs ruin what we've built." And the room would nod, fear spreading like wildfire, because to them, those patches meant trouble, gangs, drugs, danger, you name it. They assumed it. But Jack? He wasn't out to start a war. That leather vest, those bikes, they were his lifeline. After Maggie died, the house got so quiet it hurt like the walls were closing in, whispering all the things he'd lost. His daughter's calls stopped coming, and the silence was louder than any engine. Then the Iron Riders showed up, a brotherhood of guys who'd seen their own share of hard times, vets, widowers, guys who'd been chewed up by life and spit out tougher. They didn't ask Jack to explain his pain. They just filled his garage with laughter, stories, and the kind of loyalty that doesn't need words. Still, Jack felt the stares when he grabbed milk at the corner store, the way folks crossed the street when he walked by. He carried it like a backpack full of bricks, but he never let it show, not to his brothers, not to anyone. Across town, Karen was plotting like she was running for mayor. Picture her in her pristine living room, crystal wine glasses clinking, flipping through a binder stuffed with complaints, excessive noise, suspicious activity, visual nuisance. She'd lean forward, her pearls glinting under the chandelier, and say, "Do you want these people around your kids?" The room would murmur, heads nodding like they were in church. Karen wasn't evil, don't get me wrong, she just believed order was the key to a good life, and Jack's crew was chaos and leather. So she drafted her masterpiece, a letter, cold as ice, delivered to Jack's mailbox like a grenade. "Cease the gatherings. Remove the motorcycles. Restore the peace." Jack read it standing in his kitchen, the words stinging like a slap. He set it down next to a faded photo of Maggie, her smile frozen in a happier summer, and muttered, "You'd get a kick out of this, babe." He didn't tell his crew, just revved his bike that night, leading them out of Willow Creek, headlights slicing through the dusk, while behind every curtain, eyes watched, judging. But here's where the story takes a turn. Those bikes weren't just cruising for kicks. They roared across town, past strip malls and empty lots, until they hit the underpass on Route 17, where a whole other world lived. Tents patched with duct tape, folks huddled around trash can fires, kids in mismatched shoes clutching thin blankets. When the engines cut off, you'd hear something else, not complaints, but smiles. Jack and his crew swung open their saddlebags, unloading crates of sandwiches, steaming trays of chili, jugs of lemonade like they were catering a block party. They set up folding tables, dished out plates, and for a couple hours, that underpass wasn't a forgotten corner of the city, it was a family reunion. A little girl with braids and a smudged face tugged at Jack's jeans, whispering, "Thanks, mister." He knelt down, grinned, and said, "No, kiddo, thank you." Back in Willow Creek, Karen's posse was in full detective mode, snapping blurry iPhone pics of the bikes, recording engine rumbles like they were building a case for the FBI. "It's intimidation," Karen told the HOA, slamming her fist on the table. "We're taking this to the city council." She couldn't know that while she was sipping chamomile and typing up her formal complaint, Jack was handing out hot meals to folks who hadn't eaten all day. It was like two movies playing at once. One starring a villain in leather, the other a hero nobody saw coming. Then came Ray, a guy who changed everything. Ray was 45, a former auto mechanic who'd lost it all to pills and bad choices. He'd been living under that bridge for years, but when he saw the Iron Riders roll up, something clicked. He used to wrench on bikes, just like theirs, back when life made sense. One night, after the last plate was served, Ray followed the convoy back to Willow Creek, hanging back like a stray dog, unsure if he belonged. Jack spotted him lingering on the sidewalk, his clothes worn thin, eyes darting like he expected a fight. Jack didn't hesitate. "Still hungry?" he asked, voice steady, no pity in it. Ray nodded, and Jack led him inside, set a plate of leftovers on the kitchen table. For the first time in years, Ray sat down like a man, not a shadow. They talked shop carburetors, chrome, old Harleys, and Jack listened like Ray was his oldest friend. Word got out, because of course it did. "There's a homeless guy at Jack's place," one neighbor hissed at the next HOA meeting. Karen's eyes narrowed. "This is crossing a line," she said, her voice tight. "First the bikes, now this? What's next? A tent city in our backyards." The petition gained steam, signatures piling up, fear outrunning truth like it always does. Nobody saw Ray's hands shake as he ate, or the way Jack leaned in, saying, "You ever think about getting back to fixing bikes?" Nobody heard Ray's quiet, "Maybe I could." The city council hearing was a circus. Karen took the stand first, all business, laying out her case like a prosecutor. Noise complaints, traffic issues, threats to our way of life. The room ate it up, heads nodding like bobbleheads. Then Jack stepped up, his vest creaking, and he didn't bring a speech, he brought Ray. The guy stood there, skinny as a rail, voice cracking as he said, "These guys, they're not what you think. Every week, they feed us, hundreds of us under that bridge. They don't ask for applause, don't ask for nothing. Without them, I'd be starving tonight. Hell, I'd think the world gave up on me." You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's jaw tightened, but her eyes flickered, doubt sneaking in like a thief. Jack spoke next, voice low, like he was talking to a friend. "You hear engines, you see patches, you think trouble. But you don't see the kids who go to bed with full bellies. You don't hear the laughter when we hand out food. We're not angels, we've got our scars, but we're trying to do something real." Karen went home that night, her head spinning. She cracked open her laptop, Googling Iron Riders charity, half expecting nothing. But there it was, photos of leather-clad guys serving meals, handing out toys, building shelters. She saw Jack in one, kneeling next to a kid, tying his shoe. It didn't erase her fear, not yet, but it cracked it wide open. So, one Sunday, she did something crazy. She parked her SUV 3 blocks away, pulled her hood up, and followed the bikes to the underpass. What she saw wasn't chaos, it was a damn miracle. Tables piled with food, bikers joking with folks who'd been invisible to her for years, kids chasing each other like it was a playground. And Jack, right in the middle, laughing, serving soup like it was his calling. Karen stood there, hidden in the shadows, her heart doing this weird thing, heavy and light all at once. She couldn't unsee it. But her neighbors? They weren't ready to hear it. "You're buying their sob story," one snapped at the next HOA meeting. "They're playing you, Karen." She wanted to fight back, to tell them what she'd seen, but she froze. She was their leader, their wall against the world. Doubt felt like betrayal. Then, one evening, she walked by Jack's place, saw him and his crew unloading crates of canned goods. He caught her eye, and instead of a glare, he said, "Want to help?" No judgment, just an open door. Against every instinct, she took a step forward, grabbed a bag of potatoes, and carried it to his porch. They worked in silence, just the sound of boots on gravel. And when she left, Jack gave her a nod small, but it hit like a thunderclap. The next council meeting was a zoo, cameras everywhere, reporters sniffing a story. HOA versus hero bikers. Karen stood up, her neighbors expecting her to swing hard. Instead, she took a breath and said, "I got it wrong. I thought they were trouble. I saw leather and heard noise, and I judged. But I followed them, saw them feed kids, saw them treat folks like family. We want safety, but if we're so busy building walls, we're shutting out the good stuff too." The room gasped, some folks glaring like she'd sold them out. Jack just stood there, arms crossed, a flicker of respect in his eyes. The council didn't rule that day. Too much paperwork. You know how it goes, but the story was out, and it spread like wildfire. By morning, headlines screamed, "Bikers feed hundreds. HOA fights to stop them." Churches called to donate. Strangers wanted to join the rides. And Jack, who hated the spotlight, let it happen for the mission. Karen showed up at his door a week later, holding a list of supplies, her voice softer than ever. "Thought you could use this," she said. He studied her, then nodded. And just like that, she was under the bridge, ladling stew next to guys she'd once called thugs. Some neighbors called her a traitor, slapping flyers on mailboxes demanding she step down. But others started asking questions, peeking past their blinds when the bikes rolled out. Winter hit hard, snow piling up, shelters bursting at the seams. Jack's crew doubled down, hauling blankets and heaters to the underpass. Karen rallied donations, and for the first time, Willow Creek folks joined in, teachers, accountants, even old Mr. Jenkins from down the street, carrying trays next to tattooed bikers. Ray was there too, sober now, fixing bikes in Jack's garage, his hands steady, his smile real. The engine still roared every Sunday, but now kids waved from the sidewalks, and curtains stayed open. The council dropped the complaint, not with a bang, but with a quiet memo. Willow Creek wasn't the same. It wasn't about fear anymore. It was about questions, the kind that cracked prejudice wide open. A year after that first complaint, Willow Creek threw a party, not an HOA meeting, but a real one, in the community park. Tables stretched across the grass, piled with food, clothes, blankets. Bikers and neighbors worked side by side, feeding folks from all over town. Karen stood next to Jack, no pearls, just a sweatshirt and a tired grin. Ray hoisted a kid onto his shoulders, her laughter cutting through the cold. Jack looked up at the sky, whispered, "Maggie, we did it," his voice catching. The engines revved as the sun went down, and nobody flinched. That sound wasn't noise anymore. It was hope. So, here's the thing. Willow Creek learned the hard way that judging is easy, but understanding takes guts. Those bikes, those patches, they weren't the enemy. Fear was. And fear falls apart when you face it, when you see the truth for yourself. So, what do you think? Can a neighborhood change its heart? Or do we cling to what we know? Drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Share your take on this whole mess. Was Karen wrong to fight so hard? Or was she just protecting her own? Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and let's keep these stories coming. Because if this one taught me anything, it's that the loudest things in life, engines, arguments, whatever, sometimes hide the quietest truths.